Hi, welcome back. So in this lesson, we will talk about test analysis and we will try to understand the learning objective of this topic called test analysis. Just to remind you, we are talking about the first chapter in our Advanced Test Manager certification course, and now we are going to talk about the second topic of the first chapter, and that is test analysis and design. Okay, let's get going. So we will look at a scenario and try to establish the important learning outcome out of this test analysis topic. So this scenario already we have seen, so we will repeat it and we will extend it to understand the test analysis aspect. So you are the test manager working on a project developing a tourist information mobile application, and the project recently switched to an agile process and test driven development, and each development cycle lasts for 15 days with daily builds beginning at day 7, and after day 10 no new features are allowed to be added. The development team is composed of very experienced team members who are proud of their work but not tolerant of the testing team. We talked about this. Then the requirements are written down as a coarse-grained user stories. We have already shown this example. They are not very detailed ones. Very coarse-grained kind of user stories are written. Okay. Then the software actually depends on existing web services which are stubbed during development. Unit testing is done by developers, while system and user acceptance testing is done by the testing team, and that is your responsibility. And system test in earlier development life cycles was often blocked due to severe failures of newly developed features. That's what management is not so happy. So analysis has shown that many of these failures could have been found during unit test. An analysis of issues found during production shows that 30% of the performance problems were due to the unreliable web services delivered by the third party suppliers. That's why the performance testing maybe couldn't have been done, and those are the real top issues. And the primary test objectives are to mitigate the perceived performance risks and to increase the confidence that no failures with high severity will occur in user stories with priority greater than or equal to high. Moreover, upper management have demanded closer cooperation between testers and developers. This is up to this part of the case study scenario we already talked about. So keep registering in your mind this scenario, because we will build on top of this as we learn newer topics. So now your team is involved with acceptance testing, and you have specified a set of exit criteria for acceptance testing. So using this scenario, the following exit criteria for acceptance testing have been specified. The first criteria is the software response time should be less than or equal to 3 seconds for up to 1000 simultaneous requests of user stories with priority equal to very high, meaning any user story with a priority very high, it must be tested with 1000 simultaneous users and the response time should be less than or equal to 3 seconds. The second acceptance criteria is the software response time should be less than or equal to 10 seconds for up to 10,000 simultaneous requests of user stories with priority greater than or high. So any user story which is having priority greater than or equal to high should be tested with 10,000 simultaneous requests, and if it is a very high, it has to be both tested with 1000 simultaneous requests with less than or equal to 3 seconds, and also with simultaneous 10,000 requests, and the response time should be less than or equal to 10 seconds. That is the acceptance criteria set. And also the third acceptance criteria is no severe failure in system and user acceptance test of user stories with priority greater than or equal to high. That is the third acceptance criteria. And the fourth acceptance criteria is that all user stories must be covered by at least one user acceptance test case. These are the 5 acceptance criteria have been set by you for the purpose of acceptance testing. So keep this in mind. And then also you have created a test strategy, and in the test strategy you decided that equivalence partitioning is required for the system and acceptance testing of user stories with priority greater than or equal to high. So you want to test with that technique called equivalence class partitioning for the functional testing. And for this development life cycle, the following user stories were selected and implemented with a particular priority and an estimated effort. So what are those user stories? The first user story 210 is play video for selected hotel, and the priority is medium and estimated effort is 4. And the second user story is 220, that is play background music, and the priority is low and the effort estimated is 2. And the user story 320 is search for 5 nearest hotels, and the priority is very high and estimated effort is 4. And the fourth user story 330 is search for nearest matching hotel, P, priority is high and estimated effort is 7. So keep this in mind, because you have to build a kind of traceability as you try to understand and analyze this test situation. So given this situation, this is the question for you. The test analysis for system testing has just begun, and the following testing conditions have been identified by your team. Now you are the test manager, you have to see anything is missing in the test analysis activity. So the 5 test conditions that have been identified are, the first one is play video, use all supported formats. That is the equivalence partitioning is happening. So because there is a play video functionality, it will be tested. That is your first 210 test condition. And the 320 test condition is list 5 nearest hotels, use equivalence partition for location. Again, the functionality test, a test condition has been identified. Now the test condition 3 is 330, which is list nearest matching hotel, use equivalence class partitioning for user profile and location. That is for your list nearest matching hotel user story. Then there is a performance engineering requirements, and for those the test condition 4 is performance tests for up to 10,000 simultaneous requests for user story 330. That is one test condition has been identified. And the 5th test condition is for performance tests up to 1,000 simultaneous requests of user story 320. So these are the 5 test conditions that have been identified as part of your test analysis process. Now you have to look at what is your acceptance criteria, what user stories are there with what priority, and what kind of test strategy that you have agreed to accept. Based on that, what is the minimum number of test conditions that must be added to fulfill all exit criteria in this cycle. Some things are missing. So how many are missing? That is what you have to talk about. Is it 1, is it 2, or is it 3, or is it 4? So think about it. So what do you say? Is it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? For that you have to go back, trace back to your user stories, acceptance criteria, test strategy, and the test conditions, and trace them back and find the missing elements. So here what might be missing? So we have 4 user stories. There is a play video for selected hotel, functional as well as the performance, play background music, and search for 5 nearest hotels, very high priority, search for nearest matching hotel, high priority. So now given this situation, what is missing? Definitely, very glaringly we can see that play background music, though the priority is low, there is no test condition existing. But your acceptance criteria is saying that every user story must have minimum 1 test condition identified. So that is 1 we have missed. And what else is maybe missing? Here, if you look at it, the performance test for very high has to be done by both 1000 simultaneous requests as well as 10,000 simultaneous requests. Whereas what is happening here? Here the performance tests for the 320 is actually only 10,000 is being used, but because it is very high priority, we have to also do 1000 simultaneous requests. So that actually basically it's already done, 1000 simultaneous requests is being done, but because it is a very high priority, actually we are not doing the 10,000 simultaneous requests, which is mandated by our acceptance criteria. So that is missing. So the two test conditions are missing from this situation. So the right answer is 2. Yes, you are right. So what we have really tried to learn using this scenario, as test managers during test analysis, we must use traceability to check completeness and consistency of defined test conditions with respect to the test objectives, test strategy and test plan. This is a very important aspect for actually thorough testing. So keep that in mind as we learn this topic called test analysis. So hope you have enjoyed this session. So learn and have fun.